Today on the Falling for Learning podcast, we are going to focus on sight words. Now, sight words have a range of different meanings, but we're going to focus on the sight words. Fry's sight words. There are up to 1,000 different sight words that help you to understand, how to read and help you to use those connecting words and really to get your the full reading fluency. And when I say reading fluency, I am referring to reading like you're talking. So let's get started. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. Here I am. Okay, so we're getting into sight words, and I'm going to be using some second grade sight words today. And I am actually going to change this marker as well because it's not all that. Here we go. Sight words. So sight words are basically words that should be recognized automatically. Now, it is best to teach students how to sound out these words because they could get in the habit of understanding them. So some of them follow the rules and some of them do not. So that's an important thing that you need to know. Some of them follow the rules, some don't. So here are 10 words we're going to go over today, and they're from the second grade Fry sight words, okay? So they're going to be the words 200 to 299, but of course only 10 today. Okay, my first word is after. And of course, I'll use another marker to help highlight some differences between like how to sound out these words for kids. Now, after is one of the sight words that follows the rules. So, but the thing is, at this age in second grade, at the beginning of second grade, they may not have this sound. So you have to teach that sound to them. But other than that, after. Another tricky thing about it is it's 2 syllables, so it might be a little bit more challenging for them. But helping them to understand that is good. Letting them know ER says after, okay, is very important. Now, some people put like a little heart underneath to say, oh, this is a heart word. It doesn't follow the rules. And later on, they'll learn that rule about ER. But that's kind of up to you. I feel like the very most important thing is that you have some kind of consistency in the way you do it. I like to underline and explain. The next one is ask, and I'm going to use little ask. So ask is a 3-letter word, very simple. Ask. Again, always remind kids if they're having trouble blending to stretch that vowel. And then ask. Okay, so we're going to go to our third word. Again, this follows the rules. There's really nothing extra. They should, by second grade, know A sound, S and K, short vowel sound, ask. The next word is a tricky word. It's does. So that's where it follows. And then everything else does not follow the rules. If they knew the OE would make a O, right? That's usually O, doze, or something like that, but it doesn't say that. They actually need to know that this says the sound. OE here says and then the S actually makes the Z sound, does. So this also makes a different sound than it usually would make. So this is where it gets tricky. Next, they need to know does. Does makes it doesn't follow rules. It's okay. They need to understand that's how it is. And eventually, as they practice these words, use them in sentences and all of that, they will get better at it and it will become a part of their sight words. And if you're a fluent reader, a proficient reader, an adult level reader, you have thousands, maybe even a million words that are part of your reading vocabulary. So your sight word vocabulary. So you automatically know the words when you see it. But we target these words so it can help them read more sentences and understand. And even though it goes out of order, right? So that after they don't know that and of course, this doesn't follow the rules. Our next word, help. Again, they may need help stretching that vowel. L, help. So that kind of word is an issue. Sometimes if they aren't familiar with these LP at the end of the word, like it's a type of blend. So they need to know it says help. Op, help, and really know that ending sound. And one thing about early readers is sometimes they think you're saying one thing and you are saying something else. So have them watch your mouth, and you watching their mouth is very key in helping them to actually learn the sounds and the words that you're trying to get them to know. Because they may think you said hell instead of help. And that is, part of phonological awareness, a phonemic awareness, knowing those specific sounds, every sound in the word. And again, they may not hear it. Here is another one. Now, I do want to say when I link it into the resources of this podcast episode, you will see that there is the words go from left to right in alphabetical order, but I didn't want to do all A words and I just wanted to do 10 words. So I just went down on the chart, and that's how I got different letters and different words to start with different letters. So here's the word letter. And so here again, this is a two-syllable word, makes it a little bit more challenging. I like to draw the line between double-lettered words so they'll know that this part is let and the last part is ter, letter. And understand that it's a short vowel. This first syllable, the last syllable as well. Of course, we have that ER, which we talked about in the word after, right? Okay. Our next word is move. Again, we're not following rules here. Usually we would have the O blank E make the O sound. The E would be silent, but in this case, it says ooh, ooh, v. So this O by itself makes the ooh sound and the E is silent. So it's like a little silent E or magic E. Again, it doesn't make a sound, and helping kids to understand that. Also, when they're spelling, when we're talking about sight words, they need to be able to read them, and they also need to be able to spell them. So teaching them sight words is not just one thing, the reading of it, but also spelling it. And that helps going with helping them to understand how it breaks the rules and how sometimes it follows a rule maybe that they didn't know. Our next word is going to be over. I'm going to go ahead on the next column. Again, we have another word and long O. O, v, So those words are showing up several times in the sight words. And again, it is a rule that they learn in second grade, but they sometimes learn it later in second grade, depending on their level. The next word is say. Again, this is a rule that they probably don't know yet, which is that AY rule. AY says A. It makes a long A sound. Okay. Next word, such. Here is a consonant diagram. A CH says ch, like chicken or cheese or choose, and everything else follows the rules. Ch. Now, again, they may or may not have learned this rule when you teach them this sight word, but of course, teaching those specific sounds in the sight words also will help translate to more challenging words if they were just on four-letter words or three-letter words. It teaches them digraphs, which is more challenging than just the basic CVC words or CCVC words. Okay. Our next word is S. And I always drop my marker one time when I'm doing this, and that's just what happened right now. S. Now, again, I'm using sight words as a two-letter word, but also kids sometimes are confused by four-letter words if we focus them in on three-letter words, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant. And they might get confused. They might use the U sound instead, but they need to know it's just the short S. And again, instead of sounding out the words, we want them to get to the habit of understanding these words, practicing these words, and also being able to spell them. So today we have gone over 10 words. So some of us think, and traditionally, I think people were just saying, you need to learn these words. You just need to you just need to memorize them. But the new kind of structured literacy and science of reading is saying, give them rules for them or tell them when it breaks the rules so that they can normalize and understand what's going on with these words and they can get better at it. Okay? So that is a bit about our sight words. What I'm going to do now is put us on break so we can see what's going on with our sponsors. The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today. Hey, we're back. Okay. I have my microphone. I usually don't have my microphone showing, but I don't know. It's showing right now. So here we go. So here we are. So that was like just a short lesson going over the sight words. I will follow it up with reading those sight words in sentences. But I did want to have a moment to talk to you guys about my podcast last week. So last week I went to it was a HBCU College Fair. If you don't know, HBCU stands for Historically Black College or University. I am a graduate of Clark Atlanta University. And anyway, I went to this college fair. It was at the SoFi Stadium. It was outside. And then we went into the Battle of the Bands. Now, years ago, there was a movie called Drumline that really popularized or like brought to the forefront, Black colleges and their bands and how amazing they are and the work ethic that is put in to, put on these huge shows and to display their talent and all of that, right? It was, one of the main characters was Nick Cannon, and he did host the show. Now, there was a lot of controversy about the historically Black college and university college fair because there was a lot of fighting. And, I just want to say I was like in line when some of the fighting was going on, but I'm a short person and I don't run towards to look at fights. And of course, like I said, I was in line ready to go into the stadium. And so I didn't even see the fights. They were like publicized on social media, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, some kids were fighting, and I did see a lot of kids and families around at the historically Black College University, the college fair, talking to people and really, they were giving sometimes scholarships on site, if you brought your information and talk, and, just getting more information about what they thought they wanted to do. I went with my cousin, Angie, and my little cousins, one of them is her daughter, one is my other cousin's son, who are juniors in high school, and they are looking forward to attending college and just getting more information about what they could do. So that was outside, and then after that, they had the Battle of the Bands, and so kids fight sometimes. Fortunately, there wasn't like any violence. It was more just like hand to hand combat. Not that it was good or positive or anything like that. It's just, it is what it is. What happens in the past with college fairs like this, the HBCU College Fair, are there where it was, I believe it was inside. And what happened is they had fairs, sorry, get my words together. They actually had schools rent buses and take the kids to the Black College Fair. It happens in February, part of commemorating Black History Month, and, just the legacy of Black people finding a way. I went to Clark Atlanta University, like I said, and the what the motto is find a way or make one. My husband, who attended UCLA, a historic, that was off. A predominantly white institution, yes. He was like, "How are you talking about find a way or make one? Like these other people were given the way." And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely they were." They were founded, right after slavery was ended, and people did have to make their own way because they weren't given, Black people weren't given a lot after slavery. It was just, you're free, and a lot of people uh, were still caught up in the system in the way through, sharecropping and all of that. But there were other people who ventured out and, went attended college. And there were some funds that were gained and a lot of pulling up from bootstraps. And I had seen this, you know, an interview with Dr. Martin Luther King, and he was just saying like some people were being asked to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and they didn't even have boots. So just a testament, Black colleges and are just like a testament to like the I don't know, it's not magic, it's the blessing, it's the strength, it's all of that Black people have, right? Like despite anybody or everybody, different people trying to hold them back, institutionalize racism, they rose. They were able to persevere, right? And then, to really focus in on these marching bands, these, dancers and these musicians. It's just so much, right? And, a lot of I keep wanting to say historically when I'm saying predominantly white institutions, they call it PWI. A lot of people do a lot of the acronyms, and I know that's like texting and stuff, but I like to always name what that acronym is because sometimes it gets lost. You understand? People don't really know what you're talking about. And sometimes you'll stop people like, what do you mean? And they don't even know what stuff stands for. So I always like to call it out. A lot of people like you know, they go to the acronym so quick, and we don't even know what you're talking about sometimes. I always like to make it plain. So the predominantly white institutions have a lot of money, but they don't have the talent. They have much more money, but do they have the talent that those marching bands have? No, they just don't have it. Mm-mm. No, no, no. And I've been in physical therapy, and my physical therapist, she went to USC, and I also went to USC, which is the University of Southern California, for graduate school. That's where I went. A school, like every time I turn around, there's someone giving a $10 million grant. This family giving 100 million, this family giving 500 million. I don't even know where all that money comes from. Um, but you know where it comes from. We just talked about slavery. Uh-huh. Anyway, when people are not paid for hundreds of years, somebody else is getting that money for hundreds of years. And they have access to money like is mind blowing for me. Anyway, so this is, just a testament of the strength. So I didn't know, I had never been to the Battle of the Bands, but my cousin wanted to go and really shout out to her. Her husband recently passed away suddenly, and we had already planned this when he was still alive. And she just pressed forward and just had fun, brought the family together, and we just really had a good time. We had pretty good seats on the second level, first row seats on the second level. And one of her friends from high school ended up giving us his front row seats. Um, that we're actually on the field. So, kind of like midway through, we ended up going down and being on the first row of everything. So, it was amazing. When we went down, let me just tell you, we did not have seats. Somebody had already been sitting there because it was like halfway through. And so we were like, okay, what are we going to? And the lady was like, there's all these handicapped seats right here empty. Someone's in your seat, just go sit there. And we did. And we just had a lot of fun and a lot of room. We were like dancing around, just enjoying ourselves. And that is where we had the footage from the last episode of the Falling for Learning podcast. Now, it did come out very late, of course. But I just still don't have systems in place as I am doing my podcast every week, making sure I grind. I put it out like 11 o'clock at night. Because I was putting all these different clips together. I really have never done an episode like that together. And it wasn't that great. But I'm just learning as I go, and I'm just going forward fearlessly because I know that this podcast is for parents, teachers, relatives that are trying to get their kids on track and taking our kids to cultural events like a battle of the bands really displays for them the culture, right? Like, this is what you can get when you go to a historically black college university, like displayed excellence on display. Not black excellence, excellence. Excellence above anything that you've seen with regular, like, college bands. Like, these are the best of the best. Ain't nobody, can nobody duplicate that. That is something that nobody else has. What those people have on their college campus, that level of talent and commitment, don't nobody have that. And that's just the bottom line. So that's just excellence above anyone else on display. And you could be a part of that if you go to a black college. And they also are supportive of you. I had my daughter in college, and there are some days that I did have to bring her to class, and I don't know how like normal that is. I really don't know. I really didn't care. She couldn't. She had to stay with me sometimes because she was sick, and that was that. So we went to college. We did our thing. We kept our academic scholarship. We made it happen. Okay. So that was just a really fun event for the family, but also really highlighting for the kids in the family that are looking to go to college or maybe even transfer one day. We'll see. We have one that's in a community college right now. Just let them to see like this is what you could experience. Of course, you have a choice if you want to go to a predominantly white institution, you want to go to a historically black college. There's a lot of things going on with just like lack of diversity or denying the need for diversity in certain spaces. And, you know, like Clark Atlanta University, you find a way or make one. I mean, that could be your way. And, my husband is a coach, and there are some kids out there that feel like they're too good for like a Division II school or something like that. But yet and still, UCLA is not busting their door down, but they have an opportunity with a school that may not be as prestigious as far as that sport goes, but they're willing to pay them to attend school. So that's amazing. And, people should take advantage of it. And, most people aren't going to be a professional athlete. So getting your education paid for is, just a really dope way to spend your college experience because you get to continue to play a sport that you love, that you have talent in, and get paid for it, and maybe you want to go into the sports world. Maybe you can't be a pro sports athlete, but you could be a professional in other aspects of the sport, and playing it in college could be an avenue into that. And so I, encourage people if they're feeling like, oh, well, the Division I schools don't want me, but the Division II schools may want you, or Division III. I don't know all about it, but, do your research, but, open up your mind to what's out there for you. I really want you to know that all over the country, the kids are having challenges in education. Like we just had this NAEP report, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress. I believe I got that right. If not, it's going to go in the show notes anyway, so it'll be right in there. It's showing just how the reading scores have slipped down, right? It is a trend. And of course, the writing too. So make sure you explore the resources on Falling for Learning. Download the resources that I provide for you, from other websites as well, because you want to get your kids together. This is what this show is about. Making sure your kid gets the competitive advantage. Okay. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you. That's all. See you next week, y'all. Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning, or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.